Hiya. Now, before I start, this video is in no way meant to disrespect the sport of boxing. It is my attempt to try and make the sport safer for all of us, and combat sports in general safer for all of us. Right, so I want you to bear with me for the first part of this video while I make my points. And I'm going to start off with football, also known as soccer in some parts of the world. Now, in 2020, the Football Association advised there would be no heading of a football for under 11 teams, and heading of the ball for under 16s would be a low priority. Now, these rules are being introduced following research by Glasgow University that found former professional footballers are 3.5 times more likely to die of dementia than people of the same age range in the general population. In February 2017, researchers from University College London and Cardiff University published a study based on post-mortem examinations of the brains of 6 former players, which found signs of CTE in 4 cases. Professor Hugh Morris of UCL said, "We saw the sort of changes that are seen in ex-boxers, the changes that are often associated with repeated brain injury. So really, for the first time in a series of players, we have shown that there is evidence that head injury have occurred earlier in their lives, presumably has some impact on them developing dementia." While Professor Willie Stewart, a neuropathologist at Glasgow University, says, "We have already established that former professional footballers are at a much greater risk of death from dementia and other neurodegenerative disorders than expected." So, this is football. But can you imagine the punishment we take in a regular sparring session, where we get hit on average to 4 to 10 times every round of sparring? Yes, I know the footballs were heavier in the 60s and the 70s when I used to play, but I tell you what, they were nothing like taking a good right hand from your opponent. Now let's move it to boxing. Dr. Thomas Di Virgilio, a lecturer in sport, led the latest study alongside colleagues in the Sterling Brains multidisciplinary research team. He said there are still questions surrounding the relationship between repetitive, routine head impacts, such as heading in football or sparring in boxing, and brain health. The truth is, we do not currently know how much impact is safe. For many years, a debate has taken place around the safety of boxing. However, these discussions often focus on heavy blows inflicted during competitive fights. In contrast, we looked at subconcussive impacts, those that are below the concussion threshold, inflicted during training sessions. We assessed the motor control and cognitive function of 20 boxers and Muay Thai athletes before and after a 9-minute sparring session, 3 rounds of 3 minutes. Measurements were taken immediately after the session and then 1 hour and 24 hours later. The team found that 1 hour after sparring, the participants showed impaired brain-to-muscle communications and decreased memory performance relative to controls. After 24 hours, these effects returned to baseline. While Dr. Angus Hunter said, "Importantly, this is a breakthrough study using pioneering techniques enabling us to understand how impaired brain-to-muscle signaling alters electrical recruitment patterns of leg muscles. In the short term, this may negatively affect fine motor control and thus athletic performance." Now, Tony Jeffries, former amateur European gold medalist boxer, says that he reckons in his career he took about 40,000 to 50,000 blows to the head from the ages of 10 to 27. He says that just about every spar as a pro he would have a splitting headache. He also speaks about medical evidence which says punches to the head of a child under 14, and I would say older, as their brain is still developing, is particularly dangerous. So add together all the rounds we take in sparring and in competition, it's frightening. And then we have other combat sports where elbows are allowed, knees are allowed, head kicks. Christ almighty, I can't fathom how much trauma your head takes with a good head kick. And they say, oh, what about headgear and bigger gloves? I used to think that having headgear and great big gloves, 16-ounce gloves, that's going to protect me and my sparring partner. But no, it doesn't, because your head is still going to get some impact. As I got older, I adopted the high guard defense, thinking that's going to stop some of the blows. But you know what? That impact still goes through the gloves, the headgear, and into your brain. You're not stopping it. So what are the answers? Dr. Margaret Goodman, a Las Vegas neurologist who has worked as a ringside physician from 1994 to 2005, she tended to fighters in more than 500 professional bouts, but in campaigning for their safety was burnt out by boxing, and so she founded and is now the president of VADA, the Voluntary Anti-Doping Association. Dr. Goodman says, from a neurological perspective, she says it's pretty simple. I would say that 99% of brain damage comes from sparring. Too many fighters go into a fight with concussion or mild concussive symptoms. So much brain trauma is based on subconcussive blows. So the answers to me are pretty obvious. No hard sparring. There is no need for it. And research has shown that if you take these blows, these hard blows in sparring, it actually reduces your ability to perform at the best of your ability. If you want to spar light, fast, technical sparring, making sure the emphasis is on defense, and if you get your bell rung and you feel like you've taken a heavy blow, walk away. Don't be macho. One fighter with brain damage is one fighter too many. But what I would like to see, I'd like to see us cut out sparring altogether. There is no need for it. We can do other things. If you go out there and you study and you look at the different training methods, we don't need sparring. Like I said before, that's actually going to lower our athletic performance. And surely, with all the advancements in technology and computers, etc., surely there is a way of doing virtual sparring where you can replicate, a sparring partner in the ring, but you don't get hit. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you disagree with me, but, let's open a discussion about making the sport safer for all of us. Take care, and thanks for listening.